Thank you for joining us. And Happy New Year to you all out there. This is our first video we're releasing January 2020. We appreciate you for all of your support, all of your comments, all of your engagement. Thank you so much. The Trump administration launched a large scale attack on Venezuela and were able to capture the president of Venezuela and also his wife and ship them to the US.
I think the story is still developing. I think for most people actually knew that this is going to happen. But for me, if I tell you that I knew that, they were going to go in there and surgically remove the president, I will be, the biggest liar. I thought it was just going to end up in rhetorics, especially since Russia and China has been chiming in the matter. But it looks like it goes beyond the issues, goes beyond narcotics. I think they also accused the president. Basically, it looks like they had an election last year, and then the election was largely believed, people largely believe that Maduro lost the election, and then he some way somehow remained in power, refused to relinquish power. I think is a combination of a lot of things, and is also part of the problem is also a geopolitical problem. It looks like Maduro was just caught up in the web of world politics, especially between U.S., Russia, and China.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Y&E Podcast 2020. We appreciate you for all of your support, all of your comments, all of your engagement. Thank you so much. And today we're going to be discussing the hot topic that is going viral all over the world. The Trump administration launched a large-scale attack on Venezuela and were able to capture the president of Venezuela and also his wife and ship them to the US. And the last few weeks, there's been a lot of action in that part of the world. And the US sees their oil tanker. So a lot of people have been expecting this to happen, but a lot of people are still surprised. To be honest with you, I never believed the US would go into a country and remove a sitting president based just on the allegations that the president is a drug lord and the president has been part of the drug epidemic or the drug crisis in the US. So this should scare everybody. This should be a wake-up call for all the leaders out there that their interests do not align with the US interests. It can be dangerous. It can get dangerous if your interests don't align with the interests of the US. So you don't want to be on their bad side, especially with the Trump administration. They're not afraid of taking big risk. It showed. It showed. Does that mean that once the president of Venezuela has been arrested, the issue of drugs in America will cease? Should we be expecting the result in the next weeks or in the next months?
I think the story is still developing. I think for most people actually knew that this is going to happen. But for me, if I tell you that I knew that they were going to go in there and surgically remove the president, I will be the biggest liar. I thought it was just going to end up in rhetorics, especially since Russia and China has been chiming in the matter. But it looks like the issues goes beyond narcotics. It looks like they had an election last year, and people largely believe that Maduro lost the election, and then he some way somehow remained in power, refused to relinquish power. I think is a combination of a lot of things, and is also part of the problem is also a geopolitical problem. It looks like Maduro was just caught up in the web of world politics, especially between U.S., Russia, and China. It looks like Maduro government has been hobnobbing with China and Russia, basically selling oil to Russia and China. And I think the U.S. feel they're threatened. They don't want anybody that, close to them that does not align with, their foreign policy. I think this is indirectly indirectly blow to Russia and China, essentially telling them to back off. But a lot of people have been pointing out the hypocrisy of the US, basically when they've been busy talking to Russia about invading Ukraine, and then they turn around and then invaded Venezuela. They have been talking to China about invading Taiwan. So a lot of people are now concerned, is this going to embolden China to invade Taiwan, or is this going to embolden Russia to go and surgically remove Zelensky in the Ukraine? So sometimes in the world of world politics, it can be very messy. But it looks like the U.S. is the only country that can do this. So basically, go into a country, remove the president, and nothing happened. And this is not the first time it's happening. This is probably the third time it has happened. I think the first time, or it has happened in Panama, and then I think in Grenada or somewhere around that place. But that was a long time ago, and it looks like this is the third time it's happening, and I think it will continue to happen so long the U.S. remain the world power.
Yeah, this is just sad, and a lot of comments on the internet has been painting the U.S. as a bully. That if this had happened in any other nation, or if any other country had done this, the U.S. would never have allowed it. Just like what Russia has been doing to Ukraine in the last 2 to 3 years. So the U.S. is not behind Russia, and the U.S. is going ahead to start their own fracas in that part of the world. So it's heartbreaking. I don't know how the people in that region will feel. Maybe the Venezuelan people will take the U.S. help with open arms, or they will take it with some kind of skepticism. But this is sad. It looks bad on the U.S. So if the U.S. is saying they're fighting to keep democracy in Venezuela, does that mean they're going to do something about Cameroon? There's allegedly Paul Biya won Cameroon and nothing happened. And we also know that shitty things happen during elections. So nothing like that happened. The U.S. didn't go into Cameroon and say, yeah, we have an intel that Paul Biya didn't actually win, but the other guy won, and try to force the other guy on the people in Cameroon. So it looks like it's got more to do with the natural resources in Venezuela. A lot of information online saying that the previous president basically kicked out the U.S. companies that have licenses to process their natural resources. And since then, the U.S. has been looking to get back into that country. And now that all the billionaires, all the rich people are behind Trump, they're having Trump fight their battles, and this is not going to be a good look on the U.S. and the people in Venezuela too. They're not going to be happy, especially now that Trump has closed the borders. You can't come in now saying that because there's instability in the country, you want to seek asylum in the U.S. The U.S. is not going to allow that. But the U.S. is going to that country and causing mayhem and blowing things up and removing presidents. And the president basically said that they're going to be ruling Venezuela from the U.S. until a replacement has been named. So this should concern everybody all around.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like I said, this is, a departure from from diplomacy. Is this the question now on the lips of almost everybody? Is this going to embolden Russia? Is this going to embolden China? Because you cannot be preaching one thing and be doing the other. You just have to do what you preach. You can't just be preaching one thing and be doing other. You can't be preaching against invasion, be preaching, be basically trying to broker deal between Russia and the Ukraine, and also turning back and invading another country. And then I think this is a big departure from the America First policy. But well, I think is if you tell this to Trump, he will probably tell you that American policy, he defines it. He defines what he thinks American first policy is. But for most people, for most Americans, they don't think this is American, first policy. Well, I think for a very long time, a lot of people have been, have pointed to the fact that this is about, getting access to the oil and getting and having a share. I think a Shell and Chevron gain access back to the country's, crude. But then again, there is another question to be asked. I think it has to do with patriotism, a question of patriotism, because I think it was the lady that won the Nobel Peace Prize that probably engineered this with the United States to remove the president. Where is the patriotism? You basically engineered the removal of your president by another country. Having done that, do you really think that that country is going to trust you? There's also a group of people that are rejoicing and singing the songs of freedom, like they are finally free, because I think they said that since Maduro has been there, the country's economy has been in shambles. But that is what you get when you go against the United States. They make sure that they destroy your economy. Essentially, what is happening in Iran. Iran is almost whatever their currency is, almost a 1.2 million to a dollar. Iran has been burning for the last 2 days now. They've been protesting. So when Mugabe was alive, when he was essentially against the U.S. and the United Kingdom, basically, if you are going to buy bread when Mugabe was alive, you needed to use a wheelbarrow to carry your money to go buy a loaf of bread. So that is what you get when you go against the United States. But then again, the biggest question is the double standard about the United States. But then might is power. If you are big, you are big. It's only United States that can do it. What other countries will do is to come out and condemn it. The United Nations said will not even have the balls to come out and condemn it because the United States fund the United Nations. So after condemning them, you fund yourself. So you better watch what you say so that you don't get defunded.
Yeah, the South African president has called a UN emergency meeting. I don't know what they're gonna do at that meeting. Are they gonna put a ban or put a sanction on the US? I don't know. But to your point, this is not American force policy. Even though Donald Trump is the main driver in the seat of power, this doesn't look like American force policy. It looks like the Libya playbook. Libya was doing fine before the president was removed. And we'll see what happens in Venezuela because the supporters of the president, President Maduro, his supporters will not take this line down. They're going to try to fight back. They're going to try to, in fact, I saw a video of their Minister of Defense. I don't know how true that is. Then they're gonna continue to fight. They're not gonna lay down and let America dictate who's gonna rule, who's gonna be the president of their nation. So this is not encouraging at all. It's definitely not American force policy unless the U.S. is trying to get their resources and tag it as American force policy. Maybe that's how they're looking at it. But if you truly look at it, it doesn't look like an American forced agenda. So and I hope that the people advising President Trump will rethink their strategies and make sure that they give Venezuelans a better life. Because you don't want something that happened in Libya to repeat itself in Venezuela. The U.S. already has a bad rap all over the world that wherever U.S. goes, wherever U.S. invades, there's always trouble, there's always chaos. And not to redeem their image, they need to make sure the lives of the Venezuelan people become better during this process. And again, this is going to cause more people to leave the country, and the U.S. is not going to allow them to come into the U.S. So it's just double jeopardy for the people in Venezuela.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's going to be a double jeopardy for the people of Venezuela. But then again, the fallout the United States might not actually start feeling the fallout in the Venezuela. When Libya fell, they did not start the African continent and Europe did not start feeling it immediately. Sometimes it takes time to start feeling it. Trump basically have only 2 years left, give and take. When he's no longer in the office, the fallout, that might be the time that the problem will start. And then, the southern border is basically open. They will probably force their way into this country. And you mentioned that the South African President Ramaphosa called for emergency UN meeting. Where is the UN headquarters? New York. What if Trump administration refused to give them visa to come to the meeting? It has happened. Basically, when they had a United Nations meeting, he refused to give a Palestinian president. Is it Palestinian president? Palestinian president. They refused him visa to come to the meeting. That is another thing that they can do. They are big, they are big. There is nothing you can do about it. I just hope that world powers doesn't borrow this playbook to start invading countries. No matter how you feel about the country leadership, no matter how you feel about the country, I don't think it's up to any other country to step in to surgically remove the president. I think the people should be able to remove the president through the ballot or uprising. But when another country physically comes into another country to wake up a president while he sleep and pick him and his wife, I think is a dangerous president that we are setting around the world. But then again, this is world politics. Let us know what you think about the Venezuelan invasion, or a lot of people are calling it adoption. People don't believe that that is invasion. They're saying that it's adoption. That they basically went and
It looks like a kidnap too, because you're basically taking somebody, you're forcefully taking them without their consent. You're taking them to another country, so that's even an international crime on its own.
yeah, people believe that that was that they kidnapped Maduro. But then again, we really need to ask questions about his security, because from from accounts what I've been reading, they are saying that even his security did not know that they took him out, not until he was already out of the country. So did they sell him out? Did he just surrender? A lot of questions that needs answer. But let us know what you think, and we'll be happy to engage with you in the comment section.